Zuma is in the spotlight today. Opposition debates are being held in Parliament on a motion to impeach him. That's after the Constitutional Court ruled last week that Zuma failed to uphold the Constitution when he didn't pay back some of the millions of dollars in state funds used to upgrade his private home. ANC leaders met yesterday to give their backing to Zuma, although the crisis is straining relations with their allies. Here's Sanam Chantier.
It's been dubbed the biggest scandal yet to hit the South African president, who since before taking office 7 years ago has fought off accusations of courting influence, corruption and even rape. On Tuesday, Jacob Zuma faces an impeachment attempt after the country's leading court ruled that he had violated the constitution, overspending some $16 million on his private residence. The 73-year-old has since publicly apologized and offered to pay back a share of the money. But for the country's opposition who launched the proceedings, it's a case of too little, too late.
Jacob Zuma is the cancer at the heart of South African politics. He is not capable of honourable conduct and cannot continue to be president of our country.
Zuma is likely to survive the impeachment vote as his ruling party, the African National Congress, holds an overwhelming number of seats. Earlier on Monday, the ANC reaffirmed its support for the embattled leader. However, some members have added their voice to mounting calls for his resignation. According to one South African news outlet, Zuma made it clear that he's determined to stay on.
Well, for more now on the situation in South Africa, let's bring in Africa politics analyst, Koffi Kouakou in Johannesburg. Thanks so much for joining us, sir. Now, the South African Parliament is set to vote on President Zuma's impeachment in just a short while. The ANC does have a majority, though. Does that mean, without a doubt, the impeachment bid is going to fail?
Overall, it's very clear that the impeachment bid is going to fail. That motion is going to be defeated by the parliamentarians of the ANC, and it's very clear. However, it's a good strategic ploy by the opposition to attempt to continuously chip at the, if you want, the constitutional and moral crisis the country is going through, and give themselves a light so that during the next election they can hope to have some carve out a huge voting bloc from the South African citizens.
Now, President Zuma has already survived several scandals in his career. He's been able to fight off accusations in the past of corruption, influence peddling, even rape. Is there any way this scandal might eventually bring him down? Could this be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
Yes, indeed, you're correct. In the long run, it might bring him back down. But he's in the short term is shown to be a cat with more than 19 lives. And he survived all the shenanigans and so forth, and all the accusations and the courts against him. However, this crisis is perhaps one of the most important. As I said, it's a moral crisis, a constitutional crisis that will force the ANC and then perhaps himself to really resign, because he's getting an enormous amount of pressure from the old guards of the African National Congress. People who really have a lot of, if you want, influence, who are telling him to resign. So this time, it really is going to have to suffer. In the long run, he's not going to be able to make it.
What about the role of the economy in all of this? Just last month, President Zuma survived a second no-confidence vote in a year over what was called his reckless handling of the economy. The rand also weakened by almost 1% ahead of the vote today. Could it be the economy that finally gets to him?
Yes, if the economy is stupid. In fact, this really works out well. Most of us who have been following very closely the dynamics of the politics in South Africa have noticed that the only way for President Zuma to be forced to resign is to make clear that he hasn't done well around economic issues. The economy hasn't grown at all. The projected economic growth for this year, according to the World Bank, is at 0.8%, which is really dismal when we compare with that of other African countries that are closer between 4 and 5. For a country that's so organized with an enormous amount of resources, natural resources, talent, and infrastructure, it's almost unacceptable that the economy is not growing at this point. And so the opposition and people who have been criticizing these governments and his work running the country since 2009 are really asking him to pay attention to the economy, and the economy will be his Achilles heel.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us there. Koffi Kouakou speaking to us there from Johannesburg.